Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody, it's the Takeover Tuesday podcast, and I'm David Allen, and we're back with another exciting edition, and today we have a very exciting entrepreneur with us. I hope I'm going to pronounce her name right, because I do butcher a few of these, but Kat Loterzo is with us today. Kat, are you there?
I am here, and you actually said it probably, I would say you're in the top 3 of people who've been able to pronounce my name correctly, which is the total list is very short. Most people just butcher it, and I just go with it.
Now, if you had to say it, how does is the official Australian way of saying that? Say it.
If I had to say it, Loterzo, exactly as you said it. You were spot on.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian, so I get a few things right, but
Cool. Very cool.
exciting. Now, how I found out about you was we have entrepreneurial. We run in sort of this few of the same circles online, but what really struck me about you was how brash and open you are. You know, with just telling it like it is, which we advocate hugely for on this podcast. And you went on a bit of a rant recently for a course that you were involved in, and that's previously, and that sort of got my attention because you seem to be like a no bullshit kind of entrepreneur. So maybe let's start at the beginning with how you got involved in all this online marketing and business and so forth, and perhaps your offline stuff as well. Maybe just give us your superhero origin story, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. I've been online for 9 years actually. So I came online in 2007. And prior to that, I was working for myself as a personal trainer in my hometown of Melbourne. And I ended up accidentally becoming a trainer because I grew up in a pretty traditional household where, the pursuit of success was that was what it was all about. My parents were super academic, and my dad was a managing director of a large engineering firm. And so growing up, it was always about you got to be a good student. In this family, we're always top of the class, and we're super intellectual, and sports and athletics doesn't matter, and it's just all about getting good grades and then become, a successful professional. So my goal was to be a lawyer. That was the thing growing up. I was the oldest of 4 children, and it was just understood from as long as I could remember that I was going to be a lawyer. At the same time, though, for as long as I can remember, I always thought that I'm going to pave my own way and that I'm going to do what I want. And I don't know that, I wouldn't have used the term entrepreneur, obviously, as a child. But I was definitely a child entrepreneur. I was selling stuff door to door when I was 3 and 4 years old. I figured out that I would increase my margins by 50% if I took my 2-year-old brother with me, because the cuteness factor, more people would buy my little drawings. And I would sell these drawings for 10 cents door to door when I was 4 years old. And then my very first street that I lived on growing up was called Daffodil Road because there were fields of daffodils at the end of the road. So I would pick the daffodils that anybody could pick, and then I would sell them, right? Or I would sell oranges and lemons. When I was 7 and 8, I used to get shut down all the time on the schoolyard for black market sales on the schoolyard. And so I was this really nerdy school square top of the class student academically, but then my parents were always getting called in Katrina really has to stop selling random shit, basically. Not that I said that to other students on the schoolyard. So I was always a hustler, and I would start all these clubs, and I had all these clubs when I was not even 10 years old, and I would charge people $5 a piece to be in my club, and you had to do the initiation, and you had to do the club dance and sing the club song. And you weren't allowed to get the $5 from your parents. You had to actually earn it, and you had to present me a list of how you'd earned that money and what tasks you'd done. I didn't keep the money, just to be clear. I used it into the kitty for the club, and we had sleepovers and that sort of thing, right? Maybe
Right.
So I wasn't hoarding all the money. But I was always hustling, and so I guess the entrepreneur spirit was there from a young age. But I did think that I was going to become a lawyer. So much so that we relocated to Germany when I was 13 years old for my dad's work. And the only reason that we actually moved back to Australia when I was 16 was so that I could complete my high school education in Australia in order to be proficient in Australian law, right? That was literally the only reason my entire family of 6 moved back to Australia. And then I completed schooling, went to college and in law school, and literally went to like 2.5 classes and walked out. And I just thought, I'm just not going to do this.
Right.
I just can't do this. But obviously at the time, I mean, I was 18, so I just felt like, oh my God, I am going to screw up my entire fucking life. And I didn't tell my parents that I wasn't going to classes because I was too scared. So I kept going to college, and I set up a little business in the like retail section of the campus, and I was giving people facials for $50, which I was completely uncertified to do. But I had this little like brochure thing where it was like, hey, you're studying and you're stressed, and come and have a facial basically. And so I just had my own like skincare product
That's awesome.
with fond memories. But it was actually really scary because I really felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my life? And I don't even know what I want to do now, and I'm being so irresponsible. And so I did what any lost and wandering 18 or 19-year-old would do, and I grabbed a backpack and left and just went to Europe.
Oh yeah.
And I'm Yeah, I mean, I had spent a good chunk of my teenage years in Germany, so I actually went back there and stayed with my best friend in Germany, and then we traveled around a bit, and then I traveled around a bit by myself, and really just had a great time. Came back from there when I was about 20, and then basically what happened, which sounds ridiculous, is I literally then embarked upon a 13-year long career as a personal trainer,
Okay.
purely because when I got back from that trip from Europe, I'd put on maybe about 13, 14 pounds. And so
Okay.
I started going to the gym to lose the weight,
Right.
and got really into fitness and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And one of the trainers there remarked to me, like a joke, he said, "Oh, you're here all the time. You should just work here. Ha ha ha." And I thought,
Ah.
okay. And I
Why
went and
not?
got a job. Right. I went and got a job that day, on the reception, and then I did the little personal training certification, and I became a trainer, and I kind of rediscovered that long ingrained love of sales as a trainer, and I made a lot of money as a trainer and really lived the life. Let's face it, when you're in your early 20s and you're a personal trainer and you're making 5 grand a week and you can make your own hours, it's pretty freaking awesome. So that was cool. But then the reason that I ended up online and where all this began is because I kind of got to that point where I was like, well, I love fitness. I still love fitness, but I knew that that wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. I kind of had all this other stuff going inside my head where I thought, nah, it's about more than that for me. I'm going to, egotistically, I always felt like, well, I'm going to make millions and I'm going to impact millions and I'm going to like speak on stage and lots of people are going to listen to me. And I don't think that's going to happen as a personal trainer. So I started writing online and blogging online in 2007 just because it was kind of an avenue to explore something different. And I built a really successful fitness business online. I built my fitness business up to where it was making about 35,000 grand a month. And that was just with low end products and programs like $99 and under programs. That was years ago now. And from there, just realized how much freedom there is in the online world. And I mean, I could literally like continue telling this story for like 3 hours, but essentially the fast track version that got me to where I am now is, once again, I had to make that realization of going, okay, well, now I'm making money in fitness stuff online, but I don't really want to be known as the fitness chick. And like, I've got this brand and this following, and that's really cool. And I feel good about it, but that's not how I'm going to go down. That's not like my destiny to be Australia's female fat loss queen, which was the, the somewhat like dorky title that I'd given myself at the time. And so I really started looking for a way that I could do what I felt my life was supposed to be about. And that's ultimately what led me to where I am now. And I'm pretty, as you commented, I'm pretty out there. Like, I'm pretty ranty and aggressive and kind of like this hardcore chick that just says what I say whatever I want and kind of like fuck what anybody thinks. But the truth is that it's not like I don't give a fuck. It's the truth is I actually really freaking care about people waking up and living their life on purpose. And so that's why I'm so forthright.
Yeah, that much is clear. I mean, that's how I came in contact with some more recently when we set up this podcast, was that you had gone on a rant, sort of spilling the beans
Oh, yeah.
that on a certain course that didn't
Yeah.
really help you, but that you were still a part of, and people were chastising you for telling it like it is. The owners of the course, I guess, or people involved there. Now,
Yeah.
we've had some other Australians on the show. A couple copywriters, are Australians by nature, like I have a few Australian friends too, and they seem to be on the brash side as well. Is that just something that's Australian, or is that something that your family cultivated too, sarcastic and sort of out there?
It's definitely not my family. My family's super Christian. All my grandfathers and my grandfather and all my uncles are all preachers, and my parents are super Christian, and I'm actually Christian as well. I know it doesn't come across that way, but no way is it from my family. No, I spoke to my mum about this because I started a new Facebook account, and then I didn't add my uncle as a friend again, and he's my favorite uncle, but I didn't add him because I felt bad about how much I swear.
Yeah.
And I'm 36, but I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get in trouble. and then he went to my mum and he's like, oh, is Katrina upset at me? She hasn't added me as a. And anyway, so it turned out that my family, I'm like, this is like, oh great, this is awesome, guys. They have like a pact. My family have a pact where they've made a decision together that they're going to turn a blind eye to how I speak online, because they feel like I'm just playing a persona and that's not the real me. Right. I'm like, all right, I'm glad you guys have found a way to be cool with it. My family is super supportive. I'm really lucky actually, but no, my family are not brash or outright at all. But I think Aussies like to say, just kind of shoot from the hip and say what needs to be said, and kind of like, well, if somebody doesn't like it, then they can take a long walk off a short plank, as my dad would say. So maybe it does come from my family.
That's great. Now, when you were first building up your fitness business, when you first were still a personal trainer, and you said you were living the life, you're making $5,000 a week and going crazy at that point. Do you think you always had those things instilled in you, like from you're talking about your family was very academic, very sort of like, wanted you to be the best of the best. So those seems to be imprinted in you from a very early age. And of course you were going door to door at a very early age. When you were doing your personal trainings and sales and selling programs and so forth, what sort of things were you doing? Because I don't think the average personal trainer probably even makes that, and that was quite some time ago now, but
yeah.
What sort of things were you doing back then to sort of generate your first sort of business stuff?
Yeah, that was like years ago. That was about 15 years ago now, actually, that I was doing about $5,000 a week. So it was a long time ago. I mean, I was just hustling hard, right? Like I honestly, I have no tolerance for people who have, the excuse that they're tired or they didn't sleep or the dog ate their fucking homework or whatever other bullshit people come up with. Because for me, I was always like, well, I'm gonna make money. So you guys can sit around shooting the breeze. It's not that I was antisocial. Like I was like, go out and do the dinners and do the drinks and have a chat, but I'd be like, no, I've got to get back to work, right? And so I was just, I don't know, like I've just always been a bit of a machine as far as how I've approached how my work ethic's been. And I think I learned that from my dad and from my family growing up. So I'm pretty grateful for that. And, other trainers would book in maybe 8 clients a day, and I would book in 20 clients a day, and I would just book them back to back. And my friends, like my trainer friends, would joke like it's a procession line. Like one client would be finishing up and the next one would be there, and I would just churn them through. And I would literally, like, I had a rule back in like 2001, I think it was 2002, my rule was that I had to make at least $1,000 on the Monday, because that way I was like, well, I've hit the ground running for the week. And so I would do roughly 20 sessions on a Monday. I would have 2 15-minute breaks in that time frame where I'd run downstairs, grab like a triple espresso, smash down like a piece of chicken breast or something. I was just like insane, right? And it's still how I do business. I sleep mostly like 3 hours a night. Or last night, a client who's here in Australia with me, she followed up with me, and then I messaged her back at like 2 a.m. And then she's like, wow, you really don't sleep. And I was like, no, I slept from 11 p.m. till midnight last night, and now I'm up again and I'm starting my day again. And I just don't care. I'm like, people are going, oh, that's going to catch up with you. And I'm like, yeah, you keep telling that story while you walk around with you, like I'm going to be mean about it. Like you walk around not having the money you want, not having the business or the life you want. Not to be too much of a bitch, but I'm making great money. I'm in good shape. I'm happy. I'm healthy. If I really need a break, I'll take a break, right? But I just remain pretty outcome focused. And I think as a personal trainer back in the day, that's what it was about for me. I wasn't there to fuck around. I wasn't there to just have a good time in the gym. I've very much been somebody who makes decisions based on the result that I want rather than based on my own, energy or emotion or whether or not I feel like it. I just think energy is a choice, motivation is a choice, feeling like it is a choice. And even when I really, like anybody have those days where I don't feel like it or I don't want to snap myself out of it, I'm pretty ruthless with myself. I'm kind of like, shut the fuck up, bitch, and do the work. And then you can go and cry about it and have, a bottle of wine if you need to, right? Or just have the wine whilst doing the work, even better.
Yeah. Now you seem to be, you mentioned it sort of very briefly, and I wonder if you come in contact with more of this because of the way you present yourself, because of the way you sort of are go, go, go all the time, and and you're very frank about it, that you just were. Do you encounter people trying to, tell you to slow down and don't do so much? Like you said, it's going to catch up with you one day. Do you encounter a lot of people that try to give you that sort of free advice, quote unquote?
I would say less and less so now because it doesn't take more than reading one or two of my blogs to kind of realize that it's just not going to
help
have any impact to tell me that. Like,
right.
Good luck, enjoy. I'm just going to be like, Like, there's that Robert Downey Jr. meme that goes around Facebook, like smile, nod your head politely and do whatever the fuck you want. Anyway, it's kind of like that, except I'll probably say what I actually think as well. So I don't get it that often. I would say when I get it, it's from somebody who's kind of triggered where they realize that they're not stepping up and they basically want to justify it. People want to make themselves feel better about the fact that they're not going all in. And so they want to be able to justify and kind of nod their head sagely and be like, oh, well, she's going to pay the price and her marriage is probably screwed, or like there's something like people just don't, if people are not doing the work in their own lives, then they don't want to believe that your life could really be that good. And like my life's pretty freaking awesome, but I still have my ups and downs. But the thing is, I've really done the work, right? Like I've been through a lot of stuff. I had a marriage breakdown. This is my second marriage now, and we split up last year, and we've been through like some serious hellfire and my body stuff and my business stuff. Like I really feel like, you know what, I paid my dues and I fought through and I went through that fire. So now I'm kind of okay with being like, well, I do live my dream. I do have what I want, but I did what it took to get here. And I want to really empower other people to understand that you can have whatever you want. You really can have it all, but you got to be willing to do the work. You've got to do those hard yards and you've got to be willing to face into the fire and actually go back for more. There's no way around it. There's no way to escape that entrepreneurial pathway and just kind of get to the money or get to the success. You're going to have to go through your own version of how, basically, because that's, it's like, okay, diamonds are formed under pressure, whatever the saying is, but it's so true. As an entrepreneur, I think that resilience and tenacity are two of the most important traits for entrepreneurs. And how do you cultivate those? Well, it's through going through fucking hellfire, right? So I think that that's something to recognize. And I know for me, there was a period in my business where I was over $100,000 in debt. I sold my house, I sold my car, I sold like my lame little share portfolio that I had. I even sold my freaking handbags on eBay, and they weren't even good handbags, so it was even more lame. Right? And I was at a point for a long time where I didn't know whether I could afford groceries each day and even like buying a coffee or something like that. And even during that time, when it was like, there were times where I was like on the floor in the fetal position, quite literally, right? But even during that time, I always felt like, well, this is going to be part of my fucking story. And I remember this time when my car got stuck in the car park and I couldn't get the car out because I didn't have the money to get the car out. And I took a screenshot on my phone of how there was like 89 cents in my bank account, because even then I was like, well, one day I'm going to show this on stage.
Right.
And this is going to be part of my story. So I just had that faith and I had that awareness that you've got to go through that. And I honestly think there's not that many people who are willing to go through it. And those who are the ones who are going to prevail. It's that freaking simple.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point there, that you had this faith. You seem to view the thing as a journey, whereas a lot of people would get to that point where they have the 89 cents in their bank account and these things have befallen them and they're kind of like, this is the end. And for you, this was like, no, this is just one of the trials I got to go through to get out the other side.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a really helpful way to look at things, purely because you don't need to get caught up in the failure or in the ups and downs, you know. I mean, of course, like if something doesn't work out, of course it's upsetting. You don't have to be a robot about it. But
Right.
at the same time, if you've got that bigger vision and you know that you're going to get there, then it really is kind of a matter of going, well, okay, well, that sucks, but it is what it is. And clearly, you know, there's going to be another way that I'm going to get there, because either way I'm going to get there. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my God, my thing didn't work out, so therefore I'm doomed, because, I mean, that's freaking ridiculous. If you
Yes.
had that mindset, then you're not cut out for it in the first place, right?
Yeah, it's defeatist. Yeah. Now, when you
Yeah.
made the transition from your personal training thing into more the online and the business where you're at now, what sort of steps did you take when you were first introduced into the online world? Did you seek out a lot of people, and we've had in the past, of course, have sought out, myself included, have sought out mentors or are connected with people that, you know, either trained them or took them under their wing? What sort of processes and people did you get involved with to kick off your online career?
Yeah, that's a cool question. I actually, you know, I've always been one of those people that actively looks for coaches and people who are ahead of where I am, and who I would aspire to be like. And I've always sought out mentors since a super young age. I think I had a life coach when I was like 17. I don't know what was wrong with my life back then, but I just thought it was cool, right?
Right. Right.
So when I started online, it was definitely one of the first things I did was I looked for who can help me understand this. And it just wasn't a thing. Like now you can't, you know, scroll 1 second on your Facebook feed without seeing 14,000 free business coaching reports. Back then, I mean, I wasn't even on Facebook when I went online, and it just wasn't like it is now. There weren't business coaches here, there, and everywhere. The only business coaches that there were, it was like New York Times bestselling authors who had these really old school, like clunky, you know, multi $10,000 programs and full of like men in suits, basically. So I sort of hunted around and I tried to find, you know, somebody who could help me, and it just wasn't a thing. Like there was no internet marketing industry. I mean, there would have been, but I certainly couldn't find it. I wasn't aware of it, and it wasn't like it is now. So I really just followed along with blogging websites. I mean, there's like Pro Blogger and Copy Blogger, which are still huge websites, and they were my first mentoring influencers, like the guys who ran those websites. And I tried to, like, I went to like Pro Blogger is a massive website, and it's run by an Aussie guy. I went to the very first ever Pro Blogger conference, and there was like 40 people in a room in the back of a suburb in Melbourne. And now that event has like thousands of people come along every year, right? So I just tried to do everything I could. My very first online mentor was a guy by the name of Yaro Starak.
Yes.
Yeah, you know who he is?
I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, so Yaro runs Entrepreneur's Journey, and I joined his blog Blueprint Mastermind, which was like $30 a month or something like that. That was the first thing that I could find to join, and he was my first online mentor, and he was the one who inspired me with the idea that you could live this location-free laptop life. And I remember seeing him saying that he could work from anywhere, he could sit in a cafe by the beach and write, and this was 2007 when I started, and I thought, well, that's what I'm going to do. I want to sit in a cafe by the beach and just be able to write, because my favorite thing is to write. Like that's first and foremost, I'm a writer before I'm a marketer or anything. And then 3 years ago now, must be, I actually did that. I packed up my 2 children. My second child at the time was only 4 weeks old, and my husband. And when our son was 4 weeks old, we packed up our entire house and we left, and we traveled for 2 years location free, just running through my online business. And during that time, I sent Yaro a thank you note, because I never knew him personally. It was just a group program. I sent him a thank you note to tell him the story and just say, like, this is what I'm doing. And at the time, I think I was doing about 80 or 90 grand a month, just a couple of years ago, and just shared that story. And so he ended up putting me on his podcast, as, you know, obviously a student success story, and it just came full circle. So yeah, I just am really thankful to him. And I've spent over $500,000 working with some of the best internet marketing mentors in the world, and I've learned amazing stuff over the years. But he was the first influence, and he was one who kind of planted that seed for the dream. I do think that, you know, you've got to have mentors. You've got to have mentors in all different ways, shapes, and forms. And some of my best mentors I've not paid a cent for, and others I've paid, you know, a lot of money, but it's all been absolutely worth it. Even though some of the mentors I've worked with, the big lesson has been to, you know, listen to myself and not to other people, but it's all been part of the journey, and it's all been worth it.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's great. I am familiar with Yarrow. That's exciting story. I'll have to go find that podcast myself and listen to it. Now, for people that are just getting online, 'cause we have a lot of sort of newer business owners, newer copywriters that are on, in the sort of the earlier stages of their career. What sort of advice do you have for people? What sort of, maybe 3 points that you think were crucial to your taking your business to a new level? As you've gone along, you've learned a lot of things by the sounds of it, and through a lot of different mentors, as you're mentioning. What are sort of maybe some of the takeaways people can take away today from listening to this that can really make our game changing type things?
Yeah, great question. So I think the number one, like first and foremost, is you've got to be true to who you are. I mean, like honestly, it doesn't matter what the strategy is, what is the like special magic formula, blueprint, bulletproof plan that you're going to use that's going to apparently make you millions of dollars. And there, I mean, there, like I make fun of it, but there is some good stuff out there, obviously. Like there's definitely some cool stuff to learn and some cool people to learn from, but none of it's going to work if you're not being true to who you are. And the biggest mistake that I ever made in my business was to feel like I needed to, be a certain way or position myself in a certain way in order to be successful and try and be like professional or try and be the best in my niche or something. And so the second point would be screw niching. There is no freaking niche. The niche is you. It's not about trying to be a business coach or a fitness coach or whatever else it is that you're going to be. It's just about, I mean, it's kind of the same as my first point, but it's just about be you, right? Like if
Right.
you just show up and you completely be yourself, then you are going to have the most incredibly tailored niche possible. And by the way, nobody else is ever going to do a better job of being you. So you're going to dominate your niche when
Right.
the
So
niche is you, right?
you're kind of creating your own niche. Yeah.
You're totally creating your own niche. And like to give a bit of an example of what I mean by that, like I guess, if I want to put a label on, okay, what sort of coach or mentor am I? A success mentor, okay? I work with the 1% within the 1% of entrepreneurs, leaders, artists, creators, revolutionaries, anybody who basically is that super ambitious, high achiever, superhero type person who wants it all, who wants to make millions, impact millions, and change the world, and is willing to do the work. So my clients span all industries, but they're absolutely that 1% within the 1% type of a person. However, it's not just that I help those people, my clients, with success mindset and with getting into alignment and definitely kicking their butt and doing the work and, knowing how to make money. It's that everything about how I do that is reflective of what I'm into and what I'm passionate about. So, for example, I curse a lot when I talk, right? If you didn't like that, then even if you were like a super ambitious type person, you're just not going to be part of my audience because you probably like, have a little meltdown at some point and tell me how unprofessional that I'm being. So you're not going to resonate, and I'm going to say, cool, fuck off then, because not in a bad way, but if you don't like me for who I am, then just go and find somebody that you do like for who they are. It's pretty simple, right? It goes a lot further than that. Like I find that because I truly share everything about who I am, I'm very transparent, and I kind of let my business be interwoven, not just with my business and my money-making stuff, but also with my fitness stuff, with parenting stuff, lifestyle stuff, even like my coffee and wine addiction. It's all kind of part of my business personality. And whenever I meet my clients or my community members in person, which I do a lot because I travel a ton and I'm always open for people saying, hey, let's have coffee, let's have a drink, I'll always meet up. It's like freaky how much in common I always have with the people that are in my community. So it's super cool because it means that I can go anywhere in the world and I've just got like instant best friends who are awesome to hang around with. But it also means that as far as me selling or, monetizing and building my tribe, it's so automated because I don't have to prove myself, because basically I'm just a reflection, right? Like people love me not because of how much of a badass I am, right? Just to be egotistical about it. But the real reason that people are drawn to me is because they're basically drawn to themselves, right? And they see that reflection in me. So therefore, I often find that like some of my highest level clients who invest in working with me literally would have come across me like 2 or 3 days earlier. In fact, the previous call that I was on before we jumped on this recording was with a brand new client for our first call, and she only found me like 4 days ago. She's already invested at a high level. And that's very common because she just sees herself in me, right? So be you, screw the niche, screw niching, and then do the fucking work, right? Like I'm all about alignment and being true to yourself and following your purpose and kind of like following your destiny. I really believe that you have a destiny and a purpose and a calling, but also you got to work your ass off. You got to be up into the night and up early, and you do what it takes no matter what it takes, and you do what other people are just not prepared to do if you want that result. And I don't see that as something that's arduous particularly, or I don't see it as a downer type of a thing. Like I don't approach it like, oh, okay, if I work this hard for this many years, then I can put my feet up. I think it's about choosing to, enjoy that process and recognize that as humans, the human experience is to grow and to stretch and to learn and to, fight basically and to overcome. It's not to sit on your freaking ass and eat Doritos and watch the Kardashians.
Now, for people who are trying to wrap their brain around how productive you are and how kick-ass you are at getting stuff done, what is a day? I mean, you're a mother, you have children and a husband, and you have pursuits outside of your business, interests, like wine. What is your day? What does your day look like? And do you have any sort of scheduling or what do they call it? Efficiency, ideas that people can take away.
Efficiency ideas. Yeah, efficiency. It's funny you asking me this because earlier today I ran a live workshop that was a paid workshop that I did, which was called Discipline Your Ass, and it was all about how to create discipline, right? Discipline Your Ass for epic fucking results. That was the official title in Infusionsoft.
Love it.
So I had a couple hundred people on there, and that was really just about actually what it comes down to as far as efficiency and productivity and discipline. The greatest discipline is to discipline yourself to not do everything else that is like a second tier priority, or to not do anything that's not a first tier priority. So I think that one of the greatest disciplines as an entrepreneur is to be disciplined enough to allow the chaos to rise and rise and rise all around you. Because if you're going to be somebody who gets caught up in wanting to be organized, wanting to be on top of things, being reactive to other people's expectations or messages or whatever, you're never going to do what matters. So the biggest thing for me is I am ruthless about just doing what matters and what moves the needle. And I will literally walk out of any social situation or cancel anything at the last minute if something that's of a higher priority comes my way. And I'll just be honest about it, right? But I'm committed to doing first things first. Typically I'm just not going to agree to do something if I don't want to do it. I'm not going to play that game of feeling bad about it. I'm just going to say thank you, but no thank you, right? So everything has to be connected to what my highest priorities are. And I think that if you want to be super productive and efficient, then you need to first and foremost know what is it that you want your life to be about? What do you actually want to do? Where do you want the money to come from? And are you going to choose to be committed to that? And then from there, you're going to need to identify, well, what are the things that you need to make space for on a daily basis that will help you to accomplish that? I don't really think that it's about task lists. I'm not going to say I don't believe in task lists, because I actually have lists upon lists upon lists that I then ignore forever. But I like to make lists. I make them every day because it helps clear the craziness out of my mind. And I sit there at night at 1 or 2 or 3 a.m. and I make my little list for the next day. In fact, I was working on it a little bit before we jumped on our call for tomorrow. And then I honestly feel like I'm going to do it. I'm going to be an organized person tomorrow and follow my list. And then the next day comes about and all I do is what I want to do that actually has an impact. And then I get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh shit, let me reorganize that list. And I literally do that every day, 365 days a year. And I'm so in my own delusion that I think that one day I'm going to be organized. But the truth is I know that you've got to be okay with the chaos. You just have to be ruthlessly committed to doing what moves the needle. And for an entrepreneur, that's going to be, so for anybody who's an entrepreneur who wants to essentially monetize who they are and build a personal brand and get famous for, the message that you want to unleash into the world, then it is going to be sharing that message. That's going to be priority number one every single day. Get your message out there. Say what's on your mind. Say it from the heart. Don't hold back. Be you with your message. Number two, sell something, right? The amount of entrepreneurs who come to me who are like, I'm not making any money. And I'm like, cool, what are you selling at the moment? Oh, well, at the moment I'm working on this, this, and this, and it's not ready because of this. I'm like, oh, that's shocking. You're not making any money because you're not selling? That's bizarre. Like, what? Nobody's PayPal donating to you? I can't believe it, right? So
So
daily freaking sales activity, whether or not you've got anything to sell, there's always a way to make an offer. So daily messaging, daily sales activity. But what I'm going to go like ahead of even those two things. And so those can be priorities number 2 and 3. And then priority number 1 is going to be actually getting your head in the game first. Like if you think about an elite athlete, if their mind is scattered and they're all over the place, they're not going to be allowed onto the freaking field, right? They need to get their head in the game. They need to get physically warmed up, emotionally, mentally, spiritually prepared as well. And business is battle and business is war, and you've got to have your head in the game. You don't just roll out of bed and start like messaging people on Facebook or something. I think that it's critical to have some sort of mindset practice as somebody who's success minded, who wants to create success. And so for me, that actually the very first thing that's my essential morning routine, after I get the coffee organized, obviously, is I journal and I just write like whatever craziness is in my mind and kind of let that out. But then I go through a process where I actually write out my goals and frame them like they're, that it's already done. So I'll write out like, I have amazing energy today. I smashed my workout today. I rock the shit out of today. I make this many thousands of dollars. I'm proud of myself as a mom. And I'll just write whatever comes to mind. I don't have a script or anything. I just write whatever pops into my mind. But just basically elevate my mindset and get myself into a state of confidence. And when I feel anxious or uncertain or I feel worried about selling or something on occasion, I won't let myself out onto that sales field or business field until I get my mindset back to where it's going to be, where it needs to be. So that's definitely my number one daily task is the mindset work, then the messaging, then sales activity. Beyond that, my day is like so varied every single day and it's so fast paced. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think I'm not sure if I slept because I'm pretty sure I was halfway through a sentence when I fell asleep, and then I'll wake up and literally finish the sentence.
Right.
And I think maybe I blogged in my sleep or something. So my life does feel super fast paced. I definitely can struggle from time to time with anxiety or uncertainty or all the usual stuff, right? So I think dealing with that stuff is part of the non-negotiable daily routine as well. Like today I went and had a massage in the middle of the day, which I pre-booked because I knew that I was going to do that workshop earlier in the day. And then I had other calls and interviews. And then I've got it's like 9 p.m. here right now. I'll be online for at least another 4 or 5 hours with different calls and stuff. And I knew that I needed to preventatively do something to kind of calm myself. So I think that people feel like, oh, if they see somebody like myself or, somebody who is successful, that we've just figured out a way to not have any kind of shit to deal with. No. And a lot of super high level entrepreneurs who I know struggle with like serious anxiety and even depression. And there's a pretty high suicide rate within the entrepreneurial world. So I think it's non-negotiable to take care of your fitness and to take care of your health and your spiritual well-being and, just look after yourself. And that's all part of my daily routine as well.
Awesome. Well, Kat, that is a lot of great information. I mean, if anyone listening to this, it's clear how much of a hurricane of awesome that you are. And you've given people a lot of things to think about. I know you got to run. You have other things, other calls to jump on. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
So the best way is to get in touch with me through katloterzo.com, which is my website. So you can connect with me there. You can subscribe obviously for free and get my daily Ask Hickory, which is my free daily blog. You'll get one of my Amazon best-selling books when you sign up and subscribe. But if you want to connect with me in a more personal way, just hit me up on Facebook's the best place really. I'm not super active on a lot of the other platforms, but I am on them, and it's always just under my name. So yeah, thank you for those amazing questions, by the way, and for your energy. This is a really fun interview to do, and I appreciate being on the show.
Well, it was great that we could do this. I really want to thank you. You hit it out of the park. For everyone listening, that's it. She's got to run, and we got another exciting show coming up next week. And we'd like to also thank, of course, Ben Sound at bensound.com for the intro and outro music. Check out his music. It's awesome. And we'll talk to everyone next week.